the knowledge and the conscience, they go side by side. More the knowledge, the sharper the conscience. The more ignorant the man, the more blunt the conscience. When you know certain things, when you know about the world, when you have a glimpse of the world, and you understand the purpose, the plan, what you are called upon to do, and when you come face to face with so many facts, knowledge dawns upon you, then you begin to think that in childhood, what I thought about the world doesn't appear to be like that. Just like there is a nursery rhyme. In our childhood, we used to read it. I dreamt as I slept and dreamt and slept and dreamt and thought that world is a beauty. I woke up and found that world is beauty. Something like that. So, in my childhood it was just like that. I thought that, oh, what beautiful. I can eat that, I can eat that. I get love, I get affection from all people. And I am just enjoying the world. The world is beautiful. But then after some time, when knowledge dawns upon you, then you find that it is not that world has been created for your enjoyment. All the mangoes and all the fruits and trees, they have been created not because just you were to be born and you require fruit, for all these trees have been born and all have been created. So whole world is not created for you. There is some different purpose. So therefore, you woke up and found that world is beauty. So with the birth of knowledge, the world appears in different form to you. Then the question of duty also comes. What you should do, what you ought to do. When this question appears in our life, ought and should. What I like, what I desire, I will do. But beyond that, when this question is posed before us, what I ought to do, what I like to do, what I ought to do may be different from what I like to do. Up till now I was doing all that I like to do. But sometime or the other, question poses before us, what I ought to do. What I ought to do may be quite different, quite opposite than what I like to do. So, in ought to do, duty is involved. What I should do, what I ought to do. So when these questions appear on the horizon of our consciousness, then the struggle begins. You want to do certain thing, you want to follow certain course, and for following that course, you have to deny yourself this, deny yourself that, and you get a little upset when suppose you want, in the mind of minds you think that I should do this, and you are not able to do it, then your misery begins, which you never experience in life. When you are ignorant, you never experience it. You wanted to do a particular thing, you have done it, there ends the matter. But now a different proposition has come. You want to do a particular thing. And because of various things to which you fall a victim, you are not able to follow it. Then you get remorse. You are dissatisfied with your own self. You want to do this and you are not able to do this. So, a new element enters your life, you become miserable, you become angry with yourself, you become displeased with yourself, you are unhappy with yourself. You know a particular thing, you want to follow that course. Then this question appears. When the apparatus that you are endowed with this instruments of understanding, your mind, senses, and you know that this should be done, this is the right course. And not only you know this, but your mind feels that I should do it. If I can do it, it will make me happy. And when you proceed, then you find that you are not able to do it. And then you feel unhappy with your own self. In the case of people who know things, but do not know the right thing, but do not want to follow it, not interested in following it. There are people like this. There is no problem for them. You know a thing to be right, but you are not interested in following it. Then there is no problem. But when you know a thing to be right, and with all your sincerity you want to follow it, then the struggle begins. See, in Mahabharata, there is one confession made by Duryodhana. When in some context, Duryodhana says that I know what is dharma. Not that I do not know. I know what is dharma, but I don't like to follow it. I know what is adharma. I know what is adharma, but I don't want to reject it. I don't want to refrain from it. Janami dharmam, nachame pravrutti. I know the dharma, but I have no aptitude to follow it. Janami dharmam, nachame pravrutti. Janami adharmam, nachame nivrutti. I know what is adharma, but I don't feel like refraining from it. So that knowledge doesn't pose a problem. Simply that intellectual knowledge. Because there is no play of conscience. Your conscience is as blunt as anything. So there is no problem. But with knowledge, when you develop a conscience, what you know to be right, you feel like following it, and what you know to be wrong, you feel like refraining from it. And if you fail to refrain from it, you feel that you are completely sick. You have done wrong. So, this struggle begins only with the growth of conscience. And there is no problem with those who only stop short with intellectual knowledge. But generally, in the evolution or the development, as a man elevates, he can't help. The conscience is developed. Just as you cannot remain ignorant for length of time. If you survive today or tomorrow or day after, you may postpone it. But one day knowledge will dawn upon you. In the same way, there may be a stage when knowledge dawns upon you, but you are just indifferent to it. It doesn't intimately affect your life. You know a particular thing to be right, but you don't feel like following that course. simply that intellectual, dry intellectual knowledge has dawned upon you. Information has dawned upon you, not knowledge. Some things you have come to, you are very informed about this. So that stage is there. But that stage also you will have to surpass one day or the other. Along with knowledge, conscience also will appear on the horizon. And then your problems will begin. There is a proverb, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. How very true. If you are ignorant, no problem. No problem. How fine it is. You are very blissfully ignorant, it is called. When one is totally ignorant and he has no prick of conscience, nothing of the sort, then they say that he is blissfully ignorant. So ignorance is bliss, because you do not know what is right and wrong and what is to be done, what not to be done. All these things have never come to play in your life. Then there is no problem for you, there is no struggle for you. You are all happy. Say for example, you go to the mental asylum, how happy they are. You go to the mental asylum, if you have a chance, you do go, and you see their performance. You go from one place to another, talk to these people. All very healthy, no problem with their physical ailment, no problem. And they are very jolly lot. So no problem with them. Because they are blissfully ignorant. The problem starts when you are gifted this knowledge. There is a proverb in Marathi, I think it may be in other languages also. But there is, if you catch it, it bites you. If you leave it, it runs. Suppose there is a serpent. So if you catch it, it will bite you. But if you allow it to go, then you will be constantly in fear that this serpent is somewhere here. So you should not be allowed to run. But neither you can catch it, because it will bite you. So neither can you catch it, neither can you afford to leave it. So in the same way, this knowledge, if you catch it, it brings all misery in your life. And you leave it, your whole growth is stopped. So one day or the other, if one has to develop and go in the scale of life, on one plane to another plane to another, higher and higher planes, then sometime or the other, this knowledge must catch you. And then, when the knowledge comes, then the meaning of life, the duties of life, the futility of life, the values of life, the comparative values of life, all these things torment your mind. And then you are intimately related with the world. You don't look at the world just as a spectator sees. You are a part of it. You are intimately connected with it. Then you philosophize, you go in metaphysics, and you understand that you are what you look like is not yourself. It is only knowledge that tells you. What you look like is not yourself. You are something different, quite different from what it appears to be. So, more you know this, then there is a hunger for knowing still more. But then by knowing still more, you make yourself more miserable. So this is the thing that one has to go through. There is no running away from it. There is no running away from it. So the struggle begins, and you first decide that I should do this. Then you try to give that shape to yourself. You fail. Then you become miserable. Then you try again. Again you may fail. And in this way, this failure, defeat, the battles you may lose, but the war you must win. So you may lose at this moment, you may lose another moment, but you have to constantly go on fighting till the time you don't win the war. In that sense, life is a battle. Life is a struggle. Many things you come to know. You want to experiment. You want to completely master them. And you try. You want to transform yourself. You have found that you must try to have your real nature. What exactly is happening is not the expression of your real nature. Your real nature is something different. So to bring out that real nature, say, just like the other day I said, the goal is to manifest that divinity within. If you know that, well, I am not just this what I appear to be, I am Brahmasmi. Suppose you know this. Then what a pitiable condition you are. If you don't know this, all right. But if you know that you are not just XYZ, you are just here in time and space, some tiny thing, you are not so tiny as you look to be. You are actually the spark of the immortality. And somehow, by force of avidya and force of other things, that real nature is kept hidden from you. So you have to see that you assume your original nature. So you have to transform yourself. You have to go through a tapasya. You have to go through a sadhana. It is not easy because the gravitational force is there that will try to dominate you, and you have to rise above. Fight against this gravitational force. Fight against all the pulls that are going to curb you. And therefore, this struggle takes a fierce form. Fierce form. More knowledge, more the conscience sharp. Fiercer the fight. Even in ordinary fight, what we do during the Chinese invasion in 1962, we found that our army cannot fight in the mountains. Our army is not trained, designed for fighting in the mountains. We can fight in the plains, the artillery and all that. But then in the mountains, where there are forests and mountains and dales. There the technique is very different, and our army is beaten very badly. So our country immediately, our government began to give